Счастье – это когда тебя понимают. Большое счастье – это когда тебя любят.
And hello, and welcome to AleksTabletops Sandbox MTG Study session 58. My name is Alex, and let's continue studying Magic the Gathering. Today we will continue to study on sets, and in the remaining time we will play Magic Duels. So let's kind of start. So for now we're actually continuing to study Unglued, which was released in 1998. Yeah, we actually stopped on this card. The last card that we kind of went through is this one. The next one is this one. So, yep. So in a bit we'll continue. Wait a sec, I need to take a quick break, so I will be in a minute. And yes, I'm back. So, okay. Let's continue. So previously we kind of already established a couple of pretty interesting things. Again, cards interactions, two sides, it's still a question. Still need to figure out how it's going to work in here. Because I know how it works in Unstable, but I'm not necessarily know how it works in Unglued. So maybe it works a little bit differently. And yeah, let's just go with the next card. Chicken a la King. So yep. So this is a regular creature. Whenever a 6 is rolled on a 6-sided die, put a 1+1/+1 counter on each chicken in play. You may roll dice only when a card instructs you to. Top a chicken you control. Roll a 6-sided die. Okay, now we need to categorize it. Now we need to categorize it somehow, or... So, there's going to be a lot of things that work with the 6-sided die. The next card actually works with the 6-sided die too, and probably a lot of cards will work with the 6-sided die. But the thing is, how to generalize them? This is a question. So, whenever a 6 is rolled on a 6-sided die, particular creature or all creatures of a specific type will get some type of a buff, or yes, and you may roll dice only when a card instructs you to. Okay, let's try to categorize it. So whenever you roll... Oh, okay, I need to put keyboard closer. It's pretty far. Okay, whenever you roll a 6-sided die, you or your creatures I don't know, we could go with cards too. We'll get okay, let's read the previous ones. Creature control gets additional perks. Yeah, let's just call them perks or buffs, because ideally we need to use a similar terms in order to like in categorizations for them to be understandable. I think in time I will establish a particular perks, but for now I'm going to call them this, so perks and buffs. Okay, whenever you roll a six-sided die, no, whenever you roll a specific number on a six-sided die, whenever you roll a specific number on a six-sided die, in this case it's 6, six-sided die, you or your creatures / cards, it could be anything, again trying to generalize it, will get perks, buffs. Question is permanently or not. In this case permanently, so yes. You roll the dice. This is actually a good thing. You may roll die only when a card instructs you to. This is pretty important specification. Without it, it's going to be pretty hard to properly showcase things. Okay, whenever you roll a specific number at 6 or on six-sided die, you or your creatures or cards will get perks, buffs. That's kind of it. We could go to the opposite, or you or your creature cards will lose something. For instance, abilities. There could be anything. Yeah, whenever you roll a specific number, 6 at this point on a six-sided die, you or your creatures will get perks, buffs, or it could be the opposite. You or your creature's card will lose something. At this point, at this particular instance, abilities. So again, I just like this is the way to categorize the six-sided roll. Of course, specification for it is to you can roll die only, or roll the dice only when a card instructs you to. So if there's no cards in play that could tell you to roll the dice, you just can't. Okay, during your upkeep, roll a six-sided die. On 6, sacrifice this chicken, put a giant chicken token into play. Treat this as a 4/4 red creature that counts as a chicken. So right here in this particular instance, we're kind of losing, and at the same time we're gaining more. So it could be two things. We could lose something and gain something, or both. Or both. Okay, whenever you roll a specific number on a six-sided die, you or your creatures or cards will get perks, buffs, or you or your creatures will lose something. the only way for creatures to lose something, either the abilities, if you will lose something, you will lose creature or a card, or both. At this point, yeah, at this particular instance, we are actually losing both. That counts as a chicken. Yeah, I think we could like sacrifice, put a token into play, so let's just specify. Put token into play. That could be a lot of things. Okay, next. I think with this one it's kind of pretty simple. Oh, wait a minute. This is actually during your upkeep. So you can roll the dice either each turn, or you may roll the dice only when cards it tells you to. During your upkeep, roll a six-sided die. What if you have a card that triggers a six-sided die and at the same time... So for instance, this card tells us to roll a six-sided die. This card is just whatever six-sided die is rolled. So basically this one tells us to roll the die, this one's just going to be triggered by this. Okay, pretty cool. They're just going to work the same. So we could get this ability and this ability too. Okay, next one, Slam Session. When Clam Session, when Clam Session comes into play, choose a word. During your upkeep, sing at least 6 words of a song, one of which must be the chosen word. Or sacrifice Clam Session, you cannot repeat a song. Okay. Okay, it's pretty similar to a choosing a word that we already have. So somewhere in here we actually had this thing with the choosing a word. Whenever the card is played, whenever we have a specific number, choose a player. Tearing a card, forces target player to get something out of the game range. Wait a minute. Where then this thing with speak your voice? So forces to act different. If you act normal, you'll lose the game, or you'll lose something. Speak in the voice other than your normal voice. So I guess it kind of works at this point too. But we need to work with the choosing a word. So right here, censored word. When a specific card comes into play, you choose a player, set a specific action rule for that player not to perform. He or she does perform it, that player loses something. Or at this particular instance, it's kind of an opposite. It's pretty similar. So when this card comes into play, choose a word. During your upkeep, sing at least 6 words. So again, demanding the particular action from the player. And what if it's not going to be executed? Must be chosen word. Or this session will be sacrificed. Must be chosen word. Yeah, that actually works. But the only specification for this one, we need to sing a song. Sing at least 6 words in a song. Let's copy this one as specification. So we work with this censored word, and this is just to sing a song. Sing at least 6 words of a song, one of which must be the chosen word. You cannot repeat the song. So it's a pretty interesting way to entertain the game or players in the game. Yeah, so this actually works the same. I don't think that we need to create a specific category for it. It kind of works the same. The only problem is, like, specific comes into play, you choose a player, player not perform. Another specifications, action needs to be performed during each player's upkeep. Action needs to be performed each turn. Each turn, or each time when something happens. I think it could be the case. Just general specifications. Okay, continue. Continue. Whew. So the next card, Clambassadors. If Clambassadors damages any player, choose an artifact, creature, or land you control. The player gains control of that artifact, creature, or land. We actually had something similar. Exact action. Forces you to act different. Tearing a card into pieces. Creatures you control get additional perks for each specific card type in your possession. Something with the control. So yeah, creatures you control get additional perks. No. Specific comes into play, choose a player. No. Specific card comes into play, you choose an ability, activate it, perform specific action. We had something with control. So yeah, again, control temporary. Tapping a card, except lands, results in choosing and losing control of that card. And how it works in game. Affects all players. I don't think that it's kind of appropriate for this part. No, let's create a different visualization. So, if creature is damaged, if creature or you is damaged, No, it's different. When this creature damages any player. Oh, you're actually losing in this particular point. In this instance. So when you attack with this creature, and it will deal damage to a player, choose an artifact, creature, or land you control. The player gains control of that artifact, creature, or land. So it's kind of... I don't know how to properly generalize it though. To create some type of a general description. Let's think. So basically, as the costs for the damage, you lose control of specific cards, probably. Maybe this could be a case. Let's try. Okay, control-E. Yeah. This type of cards is pretty hard to generalize though, because there's a lot of things that could work like this, but for the most part you're losing it's pretty hard to generalize, not just for the creature. But in this particular instance, it works just for the creature. But I kind of want to make this whole generalization that could work for anything. If we're going to find something similar, we could categorize it, put this in this category. So, if Clanbesters damages any player, choose an artifact, creature, and and the player gains control. Okay, so you losing control, or just lose control? No, losing. You're losing control of your specific cards, card types. Actually, in this instance, we are going to lose land, artifact, whatever, and creature. You're losing control of a specific cards. Card types. You're losing control of specific card types when something... Come on. With something yeah, today my brain doesn't want to work in the proper direction. Okay, so you're losing control of the specific card types, of a specific card types when you or your creatures deal damage to other players. It could work. Again, you can deal damage by just casting specific spells, damage dealers, and of course creatures will do too. I think it works for this particular situation. Again, you're losing control of specific card types. Cards. You lose control of a number You're losing control. Oh, come on. Because English is not native language for me, it's pretty hard to properly construct a sentence. You losing control of a number of specific cards, card types. Artifact, land, creature, and etc. Basically, there's a lot of things could be. You're losing control of a number of specific card types, artifacts, land, creature, when you or your creatures deal damage to other players. Control of these cards goes to damaged player. Damaged player. I think that's kind of it for the specification. Control of these cards. Yes, control of these cards goes to damaged player. I think it's not proper grammar, I think, but whatever. At least I understand what it works, what it does. And this is the most important thing. So again, you're losing control of a number of specific cards, card types, artifact, land, creature, etc. When you or your creatures deal damage to other players, and control of these cards basically granted to damaged player. I don't know, goes granted. I don't know how to, maybe granted. Yeah, we could go with granted to damaged player. Or players, depends on. It's pretty interesting as ability and as a mechanic. Would be interesting to see this mechanic in actual play. Okay, these are not appropriate for this one. I think we don't need to put any general specifications for it. So at this point, and in this instance, the player gains control of that artifact, creature, or land. Oh. He needs to choose one? Or not? This is actually pretty cool if we can choose. No, let's call it damaged player. And yes, damaged player can choose one card from among them. I think we don't need from. Damage player can choose one card from among them. Yeah, I think it works. Yeah, it could work. And the other way how it could work, let's think. Damage any player, choose an artifact, creature, or land you control. Target player gains control of that artifact, creature. Oh, that player. Yeah, I think that's it for now. So the next one is Clem IM. Whenever you roll a 3 or a 6 die, you may reroll that die. Oh, what? No. Whenever you roll a 3 on a 6-side die, you may reroll that die. It's actually pretty close to this. Whenever you roll a specific number on a 6-sided die, you or your creatures will get perks. So yes, it actually works for this one. But specification for it will be that you can reroll the die. Do you? You can reroll the die. On a specific number. So if you get specific number, you can reroll the die. So good. Good. Continue. The next. Tap this card. Throw clay pigeon into the air. Oh no. So seriously? You can throw this card in the air? At least 2 feet above your head while seated. Okay, attempt to catch it with one hand. If you catch clay pigeon, prevent all damage to you from any one source and return clay pigeon to play tapped. Otherwise, sacrifice it. Oh snap! How the heck I could actually categorize it? Oh, this is probably the hardest set to study. I don't think that regular Magic cards it's that hard to study, because they're so specific and they're completely out of play, and they're so fun, and try to generalize them, create some type of specifications for them and category. I don't know, it blows my mind actually. But it's a good warm-up before going into actual sets, I think. So I will still continue to study this till the end. So, okay, let's read again. So you need to throw this card. So take an action with a specific card, or do something with a specific card. There's a restriction, you have to be seated, and you have to catch it. If you do, you will get something. If not, if you catch it, this creature will return into play tapped. Otherwise, you need to sacrifice it. Oh, this is so hard to specify. Categorize. There's 3 specific elements for this that work together, and if I'm going to create a general rule for it, it's just going to be not general at all. It's kind of true for most of these, these long descriptions. Ideally, they have to be much shorter, and I think we will rework them later after I will finish the study all on sets, because I think we will find something similar in them, definitely. But for now, they are still pretty, although they are generalized, but they're still pretty specific. But I try to specify them to use them in other games. So like that's why I'm doing this for the most part. That we could use these things to create our own games, like just for the sake of this. So forces player to perform a particular action, and these are of course for fun games for the most part. Okay, let's try. So okay, throwing a card in the air, this is actually a pretty good generalization because it could work like an ability. Actually, after going through previous session, I kind of kept had in my mind that it could be cool if we, for instance, could throw a creature in the air and while playing it and see how this creature is going to land. If creature is going to land with the sleeve up, then we sacrifice it. If not, we can play it, or something like this. So I think, yeah, pretty good generalization could be to just throw a card in the air. Okay. Let's see how this word actually reads. Throw, just W. Throw card So right here we can tap and throw it. It could be a specification for this particular card, but generalization is just to throw a card. I need to choose the main action for this. So throw a card. A specification is tap card to activate this ability. I don't know why I'm constantly creating captions for each word. I don't know, it's something that I kind of get used to. Okay, throw a card in the air. Ear? Alright. Throw a card in the air. Into the air. Throw a card into the air. Air. And what then? Again, trying to generalize. So after you throw a card in the air, with a certain restriction, yes, because we have to be seated, no, we have to sit, with a certain restriction, not just a restriction, at this actually physical restriction. Oh, come on. Physical restriction. For instance, we could throw a card in the air with a closed eyes or with mouth open. I don't know how it could prevent us from throwing a card in the air, I don't know. Or with one hand behind our back, or I don't know, whatever. So it could be whatever. Physical restriction. So throw a card in the air with a certain physical restriction. And so now it comes to specifications, which is not a good thing. So we need to attempt to catch this card with one hand. And it doesn't work for a general thing. It's again specified thing, because as I said before, we could throw a card in the air and see how it's going to land, and based on that take a direction how to play it. At this particular point, at this particular instance, we have to catch it. So it's actually specification. So let's just go with the specification. But how to generalize it? Again, throw a card in the air with a certain physical restriction. and face the result. That's it. And face the result. And the rest is just specifications. So attempt to catch it with one hand. No, not just face the result. There needs to be something in between. Throw a card in the air with a certain physical restriction. Face results face result definitely worked, but something in between needs to be added. Throw a card in the air with a certain physical restriction. Now this instance, we have to take an action. Take an action and face results. We could add take an action. Take an action and face results. Try to catch it. Okay, could work. Throw a card into the air with a certain physical restriction, take an action, try to catch it, and face result. Results could be multiple. Let's go with S, or one or multiple results. Top card to activate this ability, attempt to catch it with one hand. This is just a restriction. The same goes for while seated. Like at least 2 feet above your head seated. This is just a well seated. Again, these are restrictions. We could add a restriction in here. Yeah, let's not try to catch it, but instead take an action with a certain restriction again. And face the results. Okay, let's hope that it will work for similar abilities. Let's continue. Otherwise sacrifice it. But again, then creature face the result. Result again could be, in this particular instance, result is creature, if we're actually catching it, it comes into play tapped. If not, we sacrifice it. So basically 2 type of results. Oh, come on, this is super complex. Like, that means that we have, okay. I don't know, controlled results. Results could be anything. Wrong. Results could be anything. Perks or losses. I forgot how perks actually work. Yes. Okay. Perks or losses. yeah, I think results could be anything. We either tapping creature, balances, perks, or losses. So by balances I mean, for instance, in this particular instance, when we play it, it balanced, like it returns into play tapped. We could call this a balance. Loss is sacrifice it, and gain or some type of a perk would be to buff this creature or make it bigger or transform it or whatever. So it could be any ability that Magic has or even outside of the Magic. Okay, let's continue. The next card. Come on, it's already almost an hour gone. How fast time is clicking and ticking when you are doing these type of things. So during the day we got through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, 6 cards only. Not good. There's 92 of them. And 149 in here and 260 in here. It's going to be forever. Okay. Let's continue. We have probably 10 or minutes or so, or maybe a little bit more. So counter any spell unless its caster asks your permission to play that spell. If you refuse permission, sacrifice common courtesy and counter that spell. Counter the spell. Okay, so basically we can counter this spell with the permission. No, we're deciding. So counter any spell unless its caster asks you your permission to play that spell. Counter any spell. Even those plays that I'm playing. Counter any spell unless it's caster. So yeah, it could be anyone. But how can you ask yourself? Its caster asks your permission to play that spell. If you refuse permission, sacrifice common courtesy and counter that spell. So this one I understand. If you refuse permission, we're going to lose this card. But how about this part? It's pretty confusing. Counter any spell. Any opponent's spell, I think. But no, it doesn't specify that, so any spell. Unless its caster asks you your permission to play that spell. Oh, you have to gain permission to play a spell. And if not... So basically this card works only once. We can count only one spell with it by sacrificing it, but we kind of have a choice. So it's a little bit different from a regular counter speller, because regular counter spells you never know that they're coming, but this constantly in play, and we have a choice what card to count. I don't know, I think this is just a confusing description. For the most part, this is just a regular counter. And the only difference is this thing with the permission. Yeah, this is just a regular counter that could counter any spell, only if a caster asks our permission. If you refuse permission, Could I cast the spell? Nope. And that's it. We're countering the spell. But what if not? Unless its caster asks you. But what if he or she decides not to ask? Ah, unsets are killing me. This is so like... And don't get me wrong, it's fun, but it destroys my brain. In a good way, by making him make me probably, I don't know, smarter. Who knows? Because analyzing these things, I think, will definitely benefit our brain, or at least mine too. My brain is definitely going to be benefit from it. Okay, do caster. So counter any spell unless its caster asks your permission to play that spell. Okay, generalization. I'm not going to put any caster thing, cast spells or counter spells. I'm just going to generalize it by perform a specific in-game action. Let's call it like this. So perform a specific in-game action. I don't want to... Yes, like this. Perform a specific in-game action. Unless counter any spell unless its caster asks your permission. Let's take this one and try to generalize it. Perform a specific in-game action unless it's caster doesn't work. Okay, we need to find a word. Let's call it owner. Unless it's owner. I don't know how you can actually own a specific action, but again, action at this point, what I'm like seeing as the action, any spell that we're playing, so basically playing a spell, this is an action. Countering a spell, this is an action. Playing some type of buffing creatures, activating abilities. And by owner, I mean the player that performs these actions. So we need to actually perform a specific in-game action, and let's perform a specific in-game action. Against. Not Russian. Against. Perform a specific in-game action against opponent. Could be opponents. Yes, so perform a specific in-game action against opponents unless unless opponent will ask our permission to take this action. There's two types of actions. We take an action and opponent takes action. I have to properly to put it in a sentence. So perform a specific in-game action against opponent or opponents when they take a specific in-game action. Yep. So I think it could work. So perform a specific in-game action against opponents when they, or he or she, we will think about opponents, they take a specific in-game action unless opponent or opponents ask your permission to take it. Oh damn it, that was crazy. I think that's it. So perform a specific in-game action against opponents when they take a specific in-game action themselves. Unless opponents ask you permission to take it. Triggered by card. If okay, let's read it again. Perform a specific in-game action against opponents when when they take a specific in-game action themselves. Let's just specify that because it's going to be understandable for me at least. Okay, perform a specific in-game action against opponents when they take a specific in-game action themselves. So again, in order to perform, for us to perform a specific in-game action, we need to wait for the opponent to take a specific in-game action. And again, it could be anything. We could act by counting spells when opponent is playing a spell. It kind of actually similar to Hearthstone's Secret. When something is happening, like secret is activated, I think, but it's a little bit more complicated, I think, because or maybe it's pretty similar. Yes, no, it's actually complicated because like there could be a trample thing, it could be a first strike. Whenever a player plays a creature with a first strike, you can take a specific action, for instance by either destroying creature or get rid of, like, making this creature lose first strike. And the only way that we can allow this to happen is if the opponent, unless opponents ask your permission to take it. Triggered by a card if permission granted. If permission granted, what could happen if permission granted? Triggered by card if permission granted. you lose this ability at this particular point card. I think that's it. Triggered by card. Triggered by card. A card. Triggered by a card. If permission granted, you lose this abilities or card. It could be triggered by a card. For the most part, it's pretty logically, it has to be triggered by a card. And then we're just basically losing this card. Or something else. Let's keep it at this. Okay, let's see the next cards, and if they're going to be super complex, we will just go into play Magic Duels. If not, we will continue. Okay, Deadhead. Put Deadhead into play. Use this ability only if any opponent loses contact with his or her hand of cards, and only if Deadhead is in your graveyard. What? Oh, yeah. So the same card needs to be already in your graveyard to play it. So in order to play this creature, without paying its mana cost. Oh, we could either pay its mana cost or with the specific conditions. So this is a specific condition to play this card. We can put it in the play without paying its mana cost. Use this ability only, yes, if any opponent loses contact with his or her hand of cards, and only if Deadhead is in your graveyard. Okay, now we need to find a way to generalize it, to create a category of a simplistic ability that could describe this behavior. So okay, actually it's not going to be that hard thing to do. So you can play a card without paying its mana cost. Paying its mana cost. This mana actually you can play a card without paying its mana cost. When a specific conditions are met. When a specific specific conditions are met. Yeah, that's kind of it for generalization of this card, because for the most part this is the thing. Specific conditions to play this card without paying its mana cost is, again, player has to lose contact. Let's just copy this one as a specification or as an example. If any opponent loses contact with his or her hands over cards, and only if Deadhead is in your graveyard, you can play it. So again, these are a specific conditions to meet. So, and it could be like whatever card is. So it could be a spell, it could be anything. Which is pretty cool. I think we could go through, I don't know, let's see what's next. Play Denied. Okay, this is another counter, I guess. only as any opponent casts target spell. It's kind of clear. Interrupt. The type of card, interrupt. I think this is just a instant. Name a card, then look at all cards in that player's hand. If the named card is in the player's hand, counter that to a spell. Okay, again. Play the knight only as any opponent casts target spell. Oh, target spell. Whatever spell, I guess. Name a card. Nope, not today. I'm going to think about this card tomorrow. Because to specify it or to categorize it, it's going to be crazy. Like, I'm confused about the thing, like, okay, whenever opponent is playing a target spell, again, what's target spell? A specific spell or whatever spell? Because if it works like a counter, then this thing is not important. Because again, I don't know, name a card. So the thing that I understand that we need to name a card, but then we need to look at all cards in the player's hand. If the named card is in the player's hand, counter that spell. So we need to know a name for the card beforehand in order to use this ability. So if I played it, I wouldn't probably guessed it in a million years, because I don't know names for Magic cards, unfortunately. And I know there are some abilities that work with the naming cards. Probably already, probably even in the regular sets, you can put a enchantment into play, name a card, and every cards of that name can be casted or something like this. So this is a little bit differently, and generalize it would be I don't know, a stretch. So I guess I'm not going to do that. Instead, let's just finish for today and go into the Magic Duels and play a couple of matches. Let's just read it again. As any opponent casts target spell. So again, I think this is not important. So, but the question is it forces us to play it, or we can choose to play it, or we're going to play it after one of the opponents going to cast a spell. There's a lot of things that could happen. Okay, name a card, then look at all cards in this player's hand. If named card is the player's hand, counter the spell. Yeah, definitely I can't thought of any categorization or category or generalization for this, so we'll continue from this card next time. Oh, wait a minute, we actually have the ability to change language for this card. Completely forget about it. Nope, can't. These are too old to change languages. Because maybe if I read it in Russian, I would understand it a little bit better. By the way, this is a good way to understand cards. If I can't understand it in English, if I'm not mistaking something, I always could check in Russian. But at this particular point, it doesn't work. Yeah, hi there. You mean this one? Oh, you mean this one with the tree and branches. This is not a site, this is actually a software. It's called Xmind. Yeah, it's called Xmind. There's two versions of it. This is a free software. The one that I'm currently using is Xmind Zen version. It's the latest version. It's a beta version, and it's actually not full enough. Like, there's abilities that we can't do. At least I still don't know how, like, rich this program is. It's probably still in beta. There's a lot of things that are going to add to this. And the other version of this program is Xmind 8 update 3. So basically, if you go to the site of Xmind, this is mind mapping software. There's a lot of them, not only Xmind. There's probably, yeah, there's a lot of them. But this is the one that I'm using. It's pretty cool. It's pretty simple, and it's free, which is a super cool thing. So yeah. Yeah, this is just a mind map that I made in. Of course, there's a lot of ways to make different mind maps. For instance, if we're going into themes, we could choose a different themes for them, different look for them. There's different branch types. I don't know if this one has different branch types, but we could choose a logic to the right, logic to the left. We could choose a, I don't know, organizational way of depicting them, the fish way. There's a lot of things. So yeah, we could choose these type of mind maps. So yeah, I use them like all the way. I use them to study, I use them in business, so they're super cool. Pretty easy way to put whatever in your mind into these mind maps. Make it easier to make decisions and categorize things all in all, and you know, use it constantly. Probably about 3 years or so already. Yeah, let's finish studying this thing for today. Again, this is the card that we need to generalize or categorize. Next session we will continue with that. Maybe I will think about this card later, because I definitely need to. Definitely need to. Yeah, these things are not important at this point. Yeah, so for now, let's go and switch into magic duels. Magic duels, magic duels, magic duels. Where's the magic duels? I don't want to close those yet. And now play study magic duels. Where's the Steam? Yeah, as I said before, the more I'm going to go through these unglued sets, the better. It's like the easier it gets, because like first cards, of course, there's a lot of new abilities, a lot of new mechanics that I don't know. The more I am going to be familiar with them, the faster I will go through cards. Like first session was probably only 5 cards, or I don't know, 6. This session was probably more cards than that, so I think I will catch up with 92 cards at the end. Boom.